Welcome to Das Geek. What a time to be alive. We have two new amazing AI things coming your way. We have the ChatGPT Atlas browser, like who wouldn't want that? And then you've got the Microsoft Copilot changes that basically it can read your screen, it can control your screen, you can tell it, hey, look at this picture, open this file. This is the whole Star Trek hello computer thing. You know, if you don't know that movie, what's wrong with you? You need to go catch up on all things Star Trek because you're not a true geek if you don't like Star Trek. It's just a fact. Absolute fact. I don't know why I'm going on that tangent, but the point is we've got all this new stuff.
Hey, Copilot. How do I go there?
What sort of thrust does this thing have on it?
Hey, Copilot, that's a cool mic. What is it?
That's the HyperX Quadcast 2S.
I hate writing about myself. Help me turn my portfolio into a bio.
Inspired by her cat Ziggy, Jenna's work is a contrast of sturdy form and wild color.
I'm not going to lie, it's really hard to be a tech person right now because I'm looking at this stuff going, I want to play with that. I want, instead of having to cut and paste my code and put it into GPT and say, hey, what's wrong with this? I want to be able to just say, hey, computer, can you look at this code on the screen and tell me what's wrong with it and fix it? It's not executing right. Or do you see what it's doing when I hit run? Can you fix this for me? Like, there's some really cool things that can come from this. And it's kind of like the coolness that Microsoft sees in Recall, where they're saying, hey, we're going to take a snapshot every few seconds of your screen. And then you could go back when you're like, man, I forgot that website I was on. I closed the browser and I want to go back to that site I was looking at. I mean, these are some cool ideas. The problem is none of these companies are trustworthy. And so there's all these privacy and security implications to these things that are going on. And it's streaming all of this data to the cloud. And this is where it just gets all too scary to really play with, even as a tech enthusiast, because as much as I love tech, I'm big into privacy and security, and this ain't it. So we break these down. Let's talk about this new Microsoft Copilot. So very cool idea. And some of the commands, when I was looking through this and researching it, actually will execute locally. This is fantastic, right? I want local models I'm not scared of. I want it to be able to process locally on my machine and do this. The problem is the only things that process locally are all the crap stuff, weather, initial wake up command, just dumb stuff. Even with their new Copilot Plus PCs that you see everywhere, every computer out there in Best Buy and everything's like Copilot Plus now. So they have NPUs in them. So they should be able to do a lot of modeling locally, but a lot of the services here actually require them to go out to the cloud. So this becomes the issue that all of the data that it's reading off your screen now becomes something that Microsoft is storing. Now they say it's just temporarily and then they delete your stuff, depending on whether you're a consumer or a business. See, they spend a lot of time in their privacy policy when I was going through it, talking about enterprise, like, hey, we get rid of this stuff, don't worry, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to the user, it's a lot more vague. I couldn't really understand exactly what their policies were and how long these things were being kept. And even if it was super clear, I wouldn't trust it. This is like the whole Google situation they got away with location services and everything else. We're like, yeah, turn off your location services. We're no longer tracking you. But we really are. And they got sued for that. So do you trust that type of stuff? And then with OpenAI, this is a company that started off as open source. Then they kind of got greedy, went closed source. And, so took all the work of the open community and everything else, closed source it, making bajillions of potential dollars eventually. I mean, I can't imagine what they would be worth if they IPO'd today. They released their own browser, and this browser essentially is completely focused on ChatGPT. So I predicted this, not that it was a great prediction or something like I'm Nostradamus, but I predicted that basically the whole search engine is going to be replaced a long time ago in Destination Linux when I started seeing AI come out, because it's so much more convenient. There are a lot of problems with that creates downstream, like companies being able to make money because this AI stuff's just reading all of these articles and things that other people have spent time publishing and writing, and then it's summarizing it all at the top when someone does a search, and no one's clicking on the site anymore, so they're not getting any revenue from that. There's all kinds of problems that this creates. The electricity bill for everybody going up for all these GPUs everybody's running for AI and everything. The point of all of this is like Atlas. I'm not sure that's so cool to me. That's not super tempting. I mean, it's neat. I think it's really like shocking because I know Microsoft's done a ton of work. I mean, Bing and all this stuff is based off of ChatGPT, as I understand. I don't know if that's shifted recently. Let me know in the comments below. But the fact that they would go and make a browser is kind of jumping in Microsoft's edge territory, which Microsoft's done a lot to try to recover from the Internet Explorer days and all of this. So I thought that was interesting. It's almost like, yeah, we're going to do our own thing. We don't care. But notice they only released it on Apple first. They say it's coming to other services, but I'm kind of wondering if that was like their nod to Microsoft. Like, yeah, we're creating this browser, but we're going to mess with Safari first. Here's the thing. I know this stuff is tempting to test out and try. If you do test them out and try, just don't put anything, use it in a sterile environment, right? Even if you get Windows, most people listen to me probably use Linux and don't use Windows, but even if you do use Windows and things and you want to play with it, do it with sterile things and make sure you go through all the privacy settings to opt out of the analyzation, because they're supposed to have privacy settings that let you opt out of, it's selling your data or using your data or processing your data if you actually trust any of that stuff. You can play with it and that stuff, but really it's a cool convenience. And I'm looking forward to the time when they can do this kind of stuff on a local NPU. And I know they're not powerful enough. Those experts in AI are probably pulling their hair out right now. Like, hey, none of these NPUs that someone has at home can do all the stuff that the cloud's processing. I get that. But until it can certainly do a lot more than they're doing with it now, though. We can agree on that, right? But until it can, I don't really want something just reading everything on my screen. Just like recall is a privacy nightmare. There was already a news story today also about some injection code that was allowing somebody to get access to people's accounts in the AI platform. And so think of all the things that people are putting in there. They just trust it. They're putting their whole resume that has their address, phone number, email address, everything in there. They're probably putting bank statements and being like, create a budget for me. Who knows what people are cutting and pasting and showing. And now you've got something reading your entire screen every time you're looking at credit cards and all that other stuff. People don't have great sanitary practices when it comes to their passwords. So even though things like recall, for instance, say, well, if there's a bank on the screen or if there's a password app, we blur that out of the recall. So I'm sure, it's using AI to detect that. But a lot of people just have their password sitting in a notepad file, a text file on their computer. I mean, there's just a lot of things where this all goes wrong. And the biggest problem is nobody trusts these companies. And these companies Microsoft has done this thing where they want to be the AI leader. And they're coming up with some cool concepts, but they're running against this wall, this brick wall that they created where nobody trusts them. When they lost everybody's trust and they're like, hey, try this cool stuff, trust us, we're not doing anything with, nefarious with your data. Everyone's like, nah, I don't trust you. And so this creates a really interesting problem. Who will people trust? Now, this is going to be a hot take for you before I just jump off the channel and you guys start swinging at me. I'm not saying it's deserved. I'm not saying it's not deserved. But the one that they will trust, the one that people will jump on board and utilize and have it reading their screen and everything else and not think twice about it, is Apple. You thought I was going to say Linux probably. And you would be right. We're going to have a lot of local models, and we do have local models on Linux. And I think that's an area you're going to trust, but Linux is a small part of the market. Apple's a small part of the market too, in comparison to Microsoft, which I think has 72, 76% of the market. But that's the next biggest one. And I think, your vast majority of consumers will trust it over Microsoft and even ChatGPT, whatever they do, even if they're integrating with ChatGPT on the back end. Check out some really cool things. If you want to play with AI, DuckDuckGo AI is a really cool privacy-focused AI model that you can play with. There's a lot of local models that you can download based on Llama and things. That's the way to go right now. Learn AI. You definitely need to learn AI, but be careful and wary of these new products. I want to know your thoughts on these two new products. Let me know what you think about the Atlas browser. Let me know what you think about the Copilot and the recall and all of that. I'm fascinated by these topics and seeing where this tech is going to go, where we have artificial intelligence, or are they just large databases of language models? You decide. Until next time, get out there and fill your brains.